Students rush to sign petition to abolish the United States Constitution. If only we can get them to so eagerly sign their loan repayment checks. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Dr. Duke Show. We are the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today's show is sponsored by Mike Lindell and our friends at MyPillow. MyPillow is always offering great deals, and this week they're saving you 70 big ones on a 6-piece towel set. All you have to do is use the code Dr. Duke, D-R-D-U-K-E, and you get 6 towels for just $40. Visit mypillow.com and you will save up to 66% on all other items using that wonderful access code Dr. Duke. Today, we start at the University of Florida, where the future of America say the U.S. Constitution must be rewritten because it's out of date, doesn't address ever-changing pronoun use, and doesn't use inclusive language. And when you watch this video here in a moment, tell me, do you believe any one of these people, one of them, has ever read the Constitution? When you hear their comments, it's abundantly clear that they've never even looked at the document.
What do you guys think of the Constitution?
Absolutely terrible. Needs to be redone immediately.
I think it needs a lot more reform for the changes that have happened since then.
I think a lot of the things in there, they do need to be reevaluated, I guess.
I think we just need to update it on more equality, equity, stuff like that.
Okay, so the Constitution, I feel like it's outdated, some of the stuff on there.
It's completely outdated. It was written by those who don't represent the both of us at the moment, and it didn't represent everybody at the time.
Do you think that the Constitution is a portrayal of the patriarchy since it was created by the Founding Fathers?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I would definitely say so, especially since when you reflect back on those who were writing it at the time, and you see it's all old white men.
I think it's impossible not to. They didn't have another perspective, nor were they seeking it.
I'm going around with this petition. As you can see, I've already gotten some of your fellow students to sign a petition to abolish the Constitution, create a whole new one, to be more inclusive, more politically aware of our surroundings in 2021. Would you guys be willing to sign this petition?
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't pronouns like they, them, stuff like that either.
So we should include the new pronouns in the Constitution?
Yeah, to make everyone feel included.
The Constitution made it possible in this day and age, whether you know it or not, to be free and to be here, right? It's under the American flag. It is the Constitution that got you here. Same thing goes for the African American girls, using pronouns they and thou. So you're dealing with the minutia. You're dealing with the outward representation of it, the way it looks. You are completely, not a single one of those women was capable of understanding the philosophical underpinnings of that document. It was complete, superficial garbage. And again, Katie, this is where we are in the 21st century.
Considering you don't know how those individuals identify, you cannot say that it was all women. Anyway, I take gripe with the statement that those all old white men who are there. Fact check false, young person. The youngest person at the Constitutional Convention was the James Madison, 36 years old. Is he old to you?
But he's a white dude.
Old? He's a little, you know what? But he's a little guy. I agree. The little people are not represented in the Constitution. I'm talking 5'4" and below. We're just not represented.
Yeah, there is no little person
No one
clause.
represents
No.
me. Because what they see when they see represent, they mean identical twins.
But
they want everything to be reflected directly in a mirror.
But the Constitution doesn't reflect actors, and it doesn't reflect airline pilots. This is their thinking, right? There's no specific clause for bakers. No specific clause for social workers. We're not represented.
You know
These
what?
old white men were only looking out for their own white malehood.
What I can get on the same page with them is Ben Franklin was 81. He was the oldest. You know how many politicians we have in their 80s, Nancy Pelosi? Or very, very close to their 80s.
Yeah, but Ben Franklin,
Chucky Schumer,
but Ben Franklin
Joe
gave
Biden,
us nuclear.
And
he gave us nuclear power, didn't he? Didn't he use a flag to?
Nuclear is bad. It's only solar now.
Didn't he use a kite to split an atom, Ben Franklin?
No, he's just on that dollar bill that I'll never get because I'm poor. Dollar bills, y'all. But this is where we're at. I mean, just we've been pointing this out for years at this point, and I always like that campus reform goes to the campuses, asks the questions, and just lets these college students talk, because it is quite telling by what they don't say or know about pretty much anything.
Of course, this was Constitution Day last week in which this happened, which is why this is in the news now. I like what she said there. When Jacobson asked if students think the Constitution is a symbol of the patriarchy, all of them answer in the affirmative. The time period was rich old white men, and that's exactly what that document says. Where does it once mention rich old white men, and does it once mention the patriarchy? Where does it once mention specifically gender?
Well, in the simple fact that and we heard it in there, how they said that they didn't have a perspective, nor were they seeking it. Have you read the founding documents? Have you read the Constitutional Convention notes? No, you have not, but I have, and guess what? If you would actually read it, you would learn a thing or 9 million, because what these men, oh my gosh, I said it, men, were doing is trying to foresee a nation.
That's right.
That was built on a creed, built on principles, not all hail to the king like we came from. But no, you don't want that, because that means you have responsibility on your own self, not just blaming someone.
They actually created a constitution that was a new perspective.
Yep.
A perspective where all men were created equal, even if it didn't pan out that way immediately. A constitution that gave rise to civil rights, human rights, gay rights, women's rights. But you women can't particularly figure this out, can you? And all of you are liberally miseducated colleagues, male and female, and whatever, 176 genders in between. Again, the idea that, is it a patriarchal document because men wrote it? No. It's the least patriarchal document that had been written in Western culture to that time. It was the least patriarchal, selfish, self-serving. It was the most open political document, the most radically progressive, yes, I said it, political document that had ever been written in the world at that time. And with your presentism and your ignorance and your inability to read for yourselves and all that garbage crap you're taking from your women's studies courses, you can't even begin to fathom that that document could be anything more than a stereotype.
And the simple fact that a lot of them think it should be abolished, that we need a new constitution, have no understanding that, guess what, this constitution can be amended. It can be. It has been amended. I can't believe it.
Amended. Even that takes
it has men.
Amend. It can be men.
So,
see, even men only can amend it, is what you're saying to me.
That's what's happening. Yes. Now, if they would actually read it and understand that and learn that, they would be looking to, all the people in the Congress who can, or even the states, because there's 2 different ways you can amend it, but they don't know any of this information because they just want to hate on it.
Personally, we shouldn't be amending anything. Leave it the way it is, because once you open it up, then it's going to have to be a separate clause for everybody, right?
One amendment I wouldn't be too opposed to is term limits, but that's just me.
But I would say that if the American people want to vote for the same guy again or girl again and again, that's democracy.
Let's just kick California off then. Then we wouldn't have Nancy Pelosi.
Now we've got something we can agree on.
Over again.
Sell California back to the Mexicans.
That's a whole nother thing.
For a handful of piñata beans.
So before we move on, just a quick reminder that if you enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club. Your tax-deductible donation literally keeps the lights on around here. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us. And as a special thank you, we will ship you our brand new navy blue American Patriot tumbler, and it will be etched with the muscular likeness of that first president, that old white man. Oh, no. I can't believe we're allowing that. Well, school choice or school freedom, what's the difference? A lot. Club for Growth is a conservative economic organization, and they held a conversation with a group of people, including the president of their organization, David McIntosh, but also former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and former Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos. And they asked about school freedom. What does that mean? Now, with the pandemic and parents seeing what's happening with our public schools, mom and dad, you've seen over the past year and a half now, it's time to really embrace the options for schooling. And Club for Growth held the discussion to launch a nationwide campaign, which they said comes amidst parental concerns surrounding school reopening in the wake of the pandemic, the growing number of failing public school systems, and left-wing political agendas being pushed in numerous school districts around the nation. The New Hampshire Forum promoted awareness and enhanced support for school freedom as an education option for parents and families struggling to find the best schools for their children, which we've talked, parents use terminology, school choice, school choice, but what are your choices versus school freedom? That means a whole different connotation. Now, this group cited a Real Clear opinion poll that was done back in April, and it found that 71% of voters support school choice, including 66% of Democrats. So stop and think about that. If you have 71% of voters supporting the option for students to go to a school that they would actually, get an education in, and 66% of the people supporting it are Democrats, that means that we should be doing it.
And that goes even further, actually. That's not the most startling statistic. Maybe perhaps this one is. 65% of all Americans support parents having access to a portion of per-pupil funding to use for home, virtual, or private education if public schools don't reopen in time for full-time classes. So already a strong plurality of people, Democrats and Republicans, believe the American taxpayer's money should belong to the taxpayer when it comes to educational choice. That's a big deal.
And now a separate study was actually done in August to understand full policy and messaging and all of that. And it revealed that the school freedom, not school choice, is actually the most effective messaging. Because again, you say school choice over the past years, what does that really amount to? What have they watered it down to mean? Whereas if you say school freedom, it still has the word free in it, so hopefully that means something to people still in America 2021. So they want school freedom to be the most effective messaging. It'll increase the number of people who support giving parents direct control of their children's education. And according to Betsy DeVos, she said that we have such good ideas that are proven in states across the country, and we need to continue to build on those and really to support children and their families to find that right fit for them, because we know that it is critical to the future of our country to ensure that every single child has the opportunity to fully develop themselves and their gifts and talents.
Wish she talked that way when she was in office. Wish she was willing to push those envelopes when she had, power.
Stop it.
And Pompeo himself said there are very few places in the American economy where monopolies dominate. Are there really that few? Tech, sports, I could think of a couple off the top of my head. But anyway, Pompeo says there are very few places in the American economy where monopolies dominate and where people are restricted in the products they can choose. Parents should have the ability to choose the product they want for their child. Quote, why would we give parents with means the capacity for school freedom, but not every other parent to make that choice? And that sounds like a little bit of a class warfare from Pompeo. We don't give parents the right to school choice. We allow parents to make money, and parents who make more money have more options. That's not a choice that's being forced on anybody. No wonder Pompeo and DeVos are creatures from the past. They don't seem to get what the point of all this is.
Well, he continued saying it's the morally right thing to do. It's the important thing to do for the country as well, to raise up not just a handful, but the many. And the president of the organization, McIntosh, actually said, we're going to need leaders who will step up regardless of party and do what's right for the children. It's that time of the week where I get to tell you what is racist. And today, it's the statues, which we knew were racist. Statues, of course, are racist. It's also in the eyes of the Cambridge University Classics Department faculty, who are, all about showing diversity, and they want to excuse the racist white statues. They have to put safety notes on them. I'll get to that. And this is at Cambridge University Museum of Classical Archaeology, and it's currently displaying plaster casts of Roman and Greek sculptures. Look at them all. Beautiful.
So, if I may jump in here for a moment.
Okay.
They're basically arguing that marble, which tends to be often white, and white markups like this in plaster, which happens to be white, that we must apologize to kids who are not smart enough to realize that that plaster and marble is not actual skin color. That's what we have to do. This is like those tags on your mattresses, right? Don't swallow, don't play with the plastic bag the mattress came in. You really got to warn people about this now. And now we have these racial warnings now that white statues, quote, white marble statues, aren't really white people, and so don't get traumatized.
Yes. So there are about 600 plaster casts of Roman and Greek statues, largely depicting Romans and Greeks. So that's what they're going to look like. I know. How dare they? According to, they also have some things around like lecture rooms. And apparently this is giving a misleading impression of the whiteness and the absence of diversity of the ancient world. Supposedly. This is a real story.
You know what?
Sorry, I must focus.
Since we're on this trope, isn't it really incredibly insulting that all canvas is white? All painters' canvases are white. I mean, why can't we make black the default painter canvas?
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, if this is where we are now, right? So change all the white canvases to black. See how much painting gets done then.
Well, then you wouldn't need to do anything because black is just all of the colors.
Right.
Put into one, you're done. Nailed it. A+ on that art project.
Cambridge University.
All right. Well, the classics faculty has insisted it will turn this problem into an opportunity.
Oh, yes.
So this is where the whole, like, they're not making excuses, but they're turning it into an opportunity through drawing attention to the diversity of those figured in the casts. And this will be done by looking at the ways in which color has been lost and can be restored, and to the role of classical sculpture in the history of racism. The faculty said the new information panels that they're hanging up around the whiteness of the plaster cast sculptures are due to go on display later this year. So because every time you go to a museum right now, you read everything. Now that they're going to have the explanations about why it's white, you're also going to read that, I'm sure.
We need black soccer balls exclusively, black golf balls exclusively, black baseballs exclusively. Let's just carry this as far as we can. Anything white is just offensive. So maybe we just don't have white. Maybe you can have black play black on a chessboard. How about that? Nothing to be concerned about that. Have black play black. And this way, guess what? Black always wins.
Well,
if black plays black,
loses.
There are no losers.
No losers. Everyone gets a ribbon.
Black plays black, black chess pieces always win.
Well, black
and that's
is back,
what we want,
baby.
right?
Yeah, we do. Now, a little bit of backstory quickly. Last summer, there was an open letter written to the chair of the Classics Faculty Board, which called for public acknowledgement of the problems of racism within classics and the need for active anti-racist work within our discipline. We talked about this at them with the classics, and so they came out in July with this long response and how they're just basically going to bow down to everything, and this was included in it. And so they also say that basically they're going to receive training. All the tutors of the class, like classics tutors, need to receive training on how to discuss sensitive topics. There's going to be a review launched into all the language that's actually used in the course titles, and the materials got to be sensitive, and then the signs are back to the statues are going to be on display to explain the whiteness of the plaster. And they also have students are going to report that difficult material is not always taught with sufficient sensitivity, so that's why we need all this to be done. So we don't want to hurt the feelings of all of our students.
Yeah, because it's all about feelings and it's not about history. I still don't understand how these atheist progressives don't get really mad at Mother Nature.
Yeah,
Mother Nature, there's not a lot of black marble out there. Why did Mother Nature, when she created marble, why did she make it white? Why does even the universe hate minorities so much? It's time for some real education. This is St. Peter's baldachin, or the baldacchino. And take a look at the big picture here, Mikey. Show them that one. That's amazing. This is a monumental sculpture, an architectural sculpture created by our artist of the week, Gianni Lorenzo Bernini, who I think is probably, he's one of the two great towering figures of the Baroque period. I would throw Caravaggio into that mix as a painter, and then you've got Bernini. And this is go take a look at this to get a sense of how big the baldacchino is. Take a look at the man standing there on the altar, at the high altar in St. Peter's in the Vatican, and look at how monumental that piece of sculpture. Those are the columns of Solomon from the Old Testament, that kind of not Greek or Roman columns, but that twisting Solomonic column from Hebrew that originated out of the story of Solomon and into Western culture. And you can see just how big this is, staggeringly big. So this is that, my friends, that cover, that canopy, if you will, canopy that covers the altar or shields it. It is the baldacchino. Or in Italian, the baldacchino di San Pietro, l'altare di Bernini. It's a large Baroque sculpted bronze canopy, technically called a ciborium, or a baldachin, over the high altar of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City, the city-state and papal enclave surrounded by Rome, Italy. The baldacchino, is at the center of the crossing and directly under the dome of the basilica. It was intended to mark in a monumental way the place of St. Peter's tomb, buried directly under the altar. Under its canopy is the high altar of the basilica, commissioned by Pope Urban VIII. The work was begun in 1623 and ended in 1634. The baldacchino acts as a visual focus inside the basilica. It is a large structure, forms a visual mediation, a congruency between the enormous scale of the building and the human scale of the people officiating the ceremony. So there you have where the priest would stand on the altar. And look at how small the priest is vis-a-vis the baldacchino. And then how small the baldacchino is vis-a-vis the entire basilica. And this is a view standing under the baldacchino and looking straight up. I mentioned already that these were the old Solomonic columns mounted above the balcony, upper right and background against the wall. The bronze and gilded baldachin was the first of Bernini's works to combine sculpture and architecture, and represents an important development in Baroque church interior design and furnishing. The canopy rests upon 4 helical columns, each of which stands on a high marble plinth. The columns support a cornice which curves inwards in the middle of each side. Above this, 4 twice life-size angles, 4 of them, stand at the corners, behind whom 4 large volutes rise up to a second smaller cornice, in which turn supports the gilded cross on the sphere, a symbol of a world redeemed by Christianity. It is a complicated work of art. It's more than we can go through in a short segment like the instant classics, but I hope this may make you more interested in the baldacchino and the work of Bernini, which we're going to be studying all week long.
All right, well, we want to take a moment to show some love to our Patriot Club members, and today we're giving a shout out to Hope from Clayton, North Carolina. Hope, thank you for supporting us.
Hope, we wish you lots of faith and charity to go along with that. You've given to our donation. We appreciate it. So I'm going to say Hope is a hope of faith, hope, and charity. And we thank her for being those things. And that wraps up this show for Freedom Project. I am Dr. Duke. She is Katie. And we'll be back next time if you stay educated.